Okay, it's this month's shop walk around with Roger telling us what's going on with all these builds. We've got this 67 Nova. What's been going on with it, Roger?
We've actually been doing a lot. So we got the back end kind of dialed in. We've got our vent window delete system set up with Mustang dual track regulators in here. Fine tuning this design before we make it in aluminum to hold the track, the window in position. As you can see, it's pretty solid, even though the door skin's just screwed on.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is signifying glass because
It's
you're obviously
because it's a quarter of an inch thick. We can shave it and move it and adjust it in aluminum so we can really define the shape of what it is. We can also digitize it and cut it on the plasma. We can do those things of however we need to do to come to this point.
and then once it's all done, you'll have glass made.
And then you just take these down to the glass shop and they cut them out exactly to the size that we've defined, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And there's a lot of custom stuff that's underneath that needs to go back and forth to get the shapes.
Okay. Tell us about all this.
So up here in front, we've been developing a carbon hood that we're going to make out of this that will share some similarities to the Chevelle hood that we're developing. As you can see, let's see, underneath we make all these fixtures to mount this where it sets in position on the printer to just get the positioning right so we know when we set it in here that it sets where we want it to set. Helps if you line up the tabs right. So you got that. We've been working on this shape to compare it to the shape of the hood that we had laid out in rough and metal. There we go. So then we have the grill. We've been really trying to define this shape, define the grill bars, define where this hood ended, define how this Nova badge will be built, how these headlight surrounds will go. We moved the headlights up a little bit. We extended the top of this to give it a little bit more speed look. Obviously, the bumper's been narrowed. In the lower valence, we had the original valence that was done, gosh, many years ago. Had spotlights and stuff that looked old school, and we kind of took some stuff from Porsche GT3, like the new body style ones, and we've been working on an opening here. These are to test whether we like it that wide or whether we like it this wide. Doesn't want to stay without the tape. But you can see how we're just playing with those positions. We've decided that this is going to open a little wider. This is going to come in a little more. This will feed air to here. There's also a duct in here that will feed air to the air filter. We decided to go from 18-inch wheels to 19-inch wheels so we're going to make taller bubbles to accommodate 19s for the ride height at full compression. And just trying to get some of those things. We've got an air intake tube to deal with to get to the air box. Just kind of fine-tuning some of those things before we machine a lot of parts and make a lot of parts in carbon to get everything so when you get them back, they're not wrong.
Let's check out the rear.
So the rear has come along really well. We have kind of cleaned up some of the fitment on the bumper. It's got the carbon trunk lid on it. He's got his clamps in here holding it up, but it's got a carbon trunk lid on it. We lean this rear panel forward. This piece in here that's black is just a plasma cut piece that's been spray painted just to set in there to duplicate as to whether this will get painted body color or whether this will be a carbon piece. You can see the trunk rubber flange that we've put in here. And so everything kind of closes much differently because the trunk used to go down here and close around on the Nova. This is an old East Bay Muscle Cars gas cap filler. And so thanks Steve for many years ago, we're finally getting it done. Yeah. So it goes in there and fits in the car to give us the gas filler. We've got exhaust tip surrounds that we've put on the bumper that we machined, exhaust tips.
And I see finally the bumper bolts have been shaved off. I know some people were,
Bumper bolts are shaved. Yeah, can't tear it. We're taking away the things the guys in the comments can say.
There's a time and place when that actually gets accomplished and when you're building a car.
Well, and the thing is you don't want to, it comes into the process. You don't want to do those things too soon because you may wind up cutting back through it. So that's why we leave a lot of stuff tacked together. It's why we try to build the pile on top of each other of getting inner fenders in there, getting everything in the car, make sure that the whole car is going to work and not just build these inner fenders and then you're like, oh, we're going to run 19s and you got to put bubbles in them.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it shows that people are paying attention to what, we're putting out, and that's a positive.
Yes. So we're getting ready to order some wheels for this. Been deciding some different things on that we're going to do. I don't know. Daryl's pretty excited. This car's coming along, looking really good. It's going to be neat to see it finally get to the finish line.
Okay, let's introduce this project right here because we've obviously showed it off on our social media, but tell us a real brief, just what's going on with this car.
So this is Leo's 57 Chevy. He's wanted to modernize the car, and that can be really tough to do on a 57 Chevy because there's things you just can't do, and it starts to make it not look like a 57 Chevy. So obviously we designed these moldings that will go in the side of the fender. We're going to make some new trim that will go with the style of the car, but just be different. We've already shortened the nose of this car 2 inches. You can see here where the only remaining thing is the slice in the bumper that's been shortened. We just haven't finalized whether that's going to stay there or get shortened a little bit more. We're talking about moving the shape of this grill over to here and shortening this up so this would round over here. Shorten that. This would be a one-piece bar. This center bar might get turn signals in the front bar, and then we made some hood vents to delete the stock bullets that were in the hood to make something that would be let some heat out, gets rid of the bumps that go all the way back. We've also shortened the cowl, as you can see. This is where we shortened the car, so the hood stayed the same, but this used to all be 2 inches forward. And then we extended the fenders back to meet this thinner spot here. The other thing we're doing is we're flush fitting glass into a 57 Chevy. So we deleted all the trim that goes around, so we're not stuck with, oh, we've got to run the trim, oh, we've got to do that, and then we're going to make our own trim to minimize the shape of that. We've also chopped the top on the car just slightly through the upper roof section, trying to not make it too flat, but to thin it out. And so we took, I think, 3/4 of an inch out of the front and like 1 1/4 inches out of the back. We also shaved the rain gutters so that it would give it a modernized look, but we're really got to work to get the tops of these doors where they flow really well into the car now, differently than it would have with stainless trim, because the stainless trim hides a lot of flaws. Now it's got to be flat with the paint and body. And as you can see in the rendering, there's a rendering here on the wall, or we can post it up in the video as well. Just trying to make it a modernized 57 Chevy. So kind of if you were going to take a McLaren theme, if you're going to take things like that. The other thing we've done is we've moved the dash back in the car and carrying the dash into the garnish moldings further back. We've made this pad that will, I don't know if we'll stick with that or go to another one, but that's to extend the kind of the 57 Chevy stuff that's there, and put an eyebrow over what would be the stock cluster. At the same time, we're going to continue the line here below into the door panels. So we'll start designing the door panels. We've used some seats that they're narrow. We wanted some narrower seats that weren't super tall. And so we found these from somewhere. We've made adapters to put them in the car to make them adjustable. We've used a center console from the legacy Chevelles with a 10-speed Camaro shifter, I believe, because this car has an LT4 with a 10-speed. And so we put all those pieces in, and we've just been working on the small details in this car. It's going to be pretty neat. I can see where it's kind of bringing along some of that McLaren-esque vibe into the car. You know, it'll have painted bumpers. It'll have things like that. A nice low, super low stance. Good power. I think with the windows smoothed and everything minimized, it'll look very sleek with the air.
Anything on the backside?
On the backside, we shortened up the bumpers. Kind of been working on those parts. These will all get painted, so we machine these bumper surrounds that will get panel bonded into the bumpers. And then if you look over here, you can see where we have a mock-up tip where we wanted to make it where it kind of just didn't look so limiting as the stock one to run it through the bumpers. So we'll wind up welding the bumpers all together, body working them as one piece, shaving all the bumper bolts. Don't worry.
Let's leave those until people identify them and call us out on them.
Oh, that's right. That's good for the algorithm.
Yeah.
So yeah, beat me up on the bolts. That's fine. So then we'll probably do something with the taillights that, once again, we're trying to maintain the 57 Chevy, but not have it look like Grandpa's 57 Chevy. So we've been kind of playing with what's enough and what's too much, and to make some of these pieces that would continue some of that look. So other than that, I mean, it's a great sedan 57 Chevy. It's on one of our old Ironworks chassis when we were selling chassis from years ago. Leo bought one of our last ones we had and was kind of waiting until his time to build the car.
Okay, let's do a quick introduction on this project right here, because it's been sitting over to the side for a while, but what's going on with this one?
So this is what we're calling crew cab number 2. This is a crew cab bump side that we found on a road tour in Colorado a few years ago. It took us forever to get all the patch panels from all the various manufacturers of patch panels. And we're getting ready to start the process of replacing all the patch panels that it needs, the fenders and the roof, and there's a lot of stuff that this thing needs. And I guess we would call this thing the flipping 4-door, because we're looking to flip it at some point. It's been a good learning tool to use to just get patch panels in the car and teach some of these younger guys the skills needed to do bigger jobs and tasks on the customer cars that we're building.
So this one has no time frame. It doesn't have an owner. It's basically just kind of something that is being worked on when time allows.
Yeah, there's a backside deal with a customer of mine, but that's the plan, is that we would flip it. So it's on an RS4 chassis. It's got a Godzilla motor with a 10-speed, but the plan is to keep it simple, as many bolt-on parts as we can, and then use the work that it needs for employee development.
And just for sake, flipping means that the truck is for sale. Technically, when the time comes, it is going to be for sale.
Yeah, but flipping 4-door sounds better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move over to.
So over here would be the main mechanical light duty shop, where we do a lot of the mechanical work. We do a lot of things like that. As you can see, we're starting to tear apart the Mercedes to get it ready to go to the paint and body shop. Mixed paint's already started on some of the parts of just getting the original paint off and getting it into epoxy primer. We've made our engine cover so that it doesn't look like an LT4 anymore. And we wanted to get everything made. We've just found sometimes it's good to just make it in stages so that you can rescan it once it's positioned, just to make sure that everything is ideal when you're doing big parts. This will go here, then there's a surround panel that goes here, then another piece that goes up here. And this makes it look just like a Mercedes that has all the covers and you can't see the engine. And but it's sure, man, George really did a bang up job on the design work to get this thing to look like a Mercedes.
Yeah, it definitely emulates what you would find underneath a Mercedes when you open up the hood.
Yes. And it hides the ugly LT4s in a Mercedes.
Anything else on this one?
That's really it as far as this. We just got to go through and make sure everything's good, fine-tuning wheel back spaces to get those ordered. Just making sure all the details are there before you're committed to it. We've started the design work on the interior to make the dash and make the console and make a lot of those things. The client, Dilesh, is very detailed and has a very good eye of what he wants to do with the car, and he's gotten rather excited, you might say.
Yeah, if anyone's really interested in a more in-depth walk around of what's going on with this car, we did put up a more recent update on specifically this car that was about 10, 12 minutes or so on YouTube. So you can go back and look at that video. And
we'll keep doing those updates on this car because it is quite different than a lot of stuff that we do. And it's, as much as it's very stock, it's also got a lot of crazy stuff that we've done to it to just make it better and better from the stock Mercedes.
Okay.
So over here in crew cab land, we have the crew cab short bed on a RS4 chassis as well. It has a Don Hardy 6.6 liter gas engine with a 10-speed automatic with Atlas transfer case. It's got some Method race wheels, and we've just got some mock-up 35-inch tires that are on the truck for now. We're getting the radiator mounted. We've gotten everything else kind of sorted. We found there was a difference in the bracket system between an LT1 and an L8T, so we had to slot a couple bolt holes because I don't know why they make them close, but not quite. So we've been working on that. The other thing we've been doing,
We got fender wells now in it compared to the last video.
oh, we do have fender wells in it that go around the upper shock mounts. We have no intentions of taking this car to the hammers, so we don't really feel that the upper shock mounts need to be tied together. We have finally located some new LT valve covers to put our coil covers on it to make this just have the big block look, because these Don Hardy engines come powder coated. And so we're able to just get them orange and put those things on it. And then we'll start making all the air intake piping. The location of this this steering box for the RS4 chassis made some packaging issues, but it's just what comes with building cars.
I see we got some seats in that soon.
We do. We got some late model, I believe you've 2020 or so equivalent seat package that we got from the junkyard. They're just manual seats because we're trying to keep it simple. It's got a center console, missing a headrest. So we're going to work on some of that, and then we will work on getting these seats all recovered. So it should give us a little bit more modern comfort in the car. And then we should be able to upholster it to look a little bit more vintage. We've been working on getting the dash bar under the dash to mount the AC, which is pretty typical for a lot of cars we do. We make this bar in here go across so that we can mount everything to it, so you have access to it, and it makes things more solid. So obviously the column itself is sloppy, but a lot of cars aren't as solid as these trucks in the steering column, so we do that. And then we'll get ready to decide the steering wheel that's going to go in the car and the length of the column to do that. We also took a jump seat from that same truck, and we're getting it into the back seat so that you can flip it up and the dogs could go back here or whatever you're going to do. We're going to move the fuel door from here to back here because the fuel fills here, and the fuel tanks were up here, and where there's no way for us to fill it and get it over the frame kick up and all that to get it here. So we're just going to put the fuel filler back here. It's got a set of amp steps on it. The exhaust is all in, fuel tank's in. I believe we got the drive shafts here. Getting ready to get the truck blasted and get it into the rest of the final epoxy primer. We wound up re-skinning the doors. 2 of them had damage, and then 2 of them just weren't flat. They were bowed like they are from the factory, so we replaced the door skins on the bottom from here down to just get a flatter surface so the bodywork is nicer and just looks better. So then we've got, now that things are getting back together, we're working on a few details of this to send the dent side to the body shop as well. Just working on getting some of the small pieces together for that. We may look at changing the seats that are in this to something more modern now that we've kind of found these GM seats, or maybe we can find some Ford seats to go in here and see how those fit, just to give it a little bit more modern comfort for drivability and things like that.
And to bring everyone up to speed, this one's also rolling on an RS chassis.
RS4 chassis from the Roadster shop.
Okay.
So they work really nice. They got the long wheelbase. They accommodate, these are 37-inch tires on this big truck. The square body has 35s on it. It's probably a little bit oversprung because there's just not all the weight in it, and it's just the way it came out of the crate.
And we have renderings for the crew cab, both of these crew cabs.
Yeah, we can post up the renderings for both of them. I got
video.
a ton of different renderings for this one. My favorite's probably the red, white, and blue with the eagle down the side. But that's just because we live in Bakersfield. And yeah, no better way to support freedom than with a big eagle on your dent side.
Tell us what engine trans package.
A hair-up supercharged Godzilla crate engine with a 10-speed automatic with Atlas transfer case. So then over here, we've got Troy's CUDA that we've been working on for a while. And now that the 35 and some of that stuff is done, we're back kind of freed up in the CAD department to make the hood scoop out of carbon. You can see the dash mock-up from the Chevelles of a dash pad from the Chevelles set in the car. CUDAs are actually a little wider than Chevelles, so you can see that the dash pad comes up a little short. So we need to make a side piece here and a side piece there. You can see a mock-up of a grab handle we put in the car. You can see the mock-up of a Chevelle dash because we're going to use the Chevelle dash perimeter to kind of lay that out. And so we put the dash in with dash pads and things, or the dash pad to just kind of get everything positioned. And then we can fine-tune steering column position. And then we have a custom dash that we're machining that looks totally different inside than what the Chevelles do now.
So the billet section is going to be different.
Yeah, this outer perimeter will be the same, but everything inside of that will be totally different.
Kind of like what was done on the 442.
Kind of like what was done on the 442.
Okay.
And so we flush fit the glass in this car, cleaned up some of the bumper fitment. These are Speed Tech carbon bumpers. We've been just kind of working on different parts and pieces of, there's a trunk latch in, oh, it's not latched. So we've mounted a trunk latch in here. It's got the fuel tank, fuel pump cover, battery mount. Everything's kind of set in the car with trunk rubber, battery things if you need to jump it, so that because we're going to have interior panels that we don't want to remove. We're getting ready to check the window fitment on those things. Now that we started using the twin track Mustang power windows, it kind of works really well on these cars that just were really flimsy and noisy when you shut the door. They sound like you have a whole bunch of spare change in them. So we've been kind of working on those things. Car looks really good. It sits really low, has a ton of ground clearance. It's gonna be a bitchin' car.
All right, take us over to the K5. The K5 is back together.
K5 is back together, body's on the chassis. Customer decided he wanted to fill the holes in the firewall and make the firewall look a little nicer than whatever, 30 or 40 years of custom CB radio wiring installs. So we're fixing all the holes in it and getting ready to repaint the firewall and put it back together. We'll probably lift the body off the chassis one more time to paint those parts, put the inner fenders in that we've reworked and cleaned up. And we've got a few other things at the powder coater. We have our Intech Auto firewall cover panel here somewhere. I don't know. Oh, it's right here. So this is the panel they make. Those guys, Troy, and actually Jameson is the one who really makes these at Intech Auto. So if you go check them out, they make this part that goes on the firewall. Just makes it easy to allow access through there, but also covers things up. You can insulate the back side of the firewall, but just makes it where it's easier to access things and not just weld everything up and just have a completely smooth firewall. And trying to build this stuff with the detail that goes in it, these little ribs and designs just make it look cool.
And this is going to end up in like a satin black.
Yeah, that's actually the one that goes on the crew cab short bed. I sent the other one that we had over to be powder coated orange.
Okay.
Just to kind of go with the flow of the car and hoping that the orange matches.
And just remember in our last video, this truck was a LS swap originally that turned into a way bigger project just because of being precise and knowing exactly what he wanted out of the truck. And here we are with new aluminum fabbed side moldings.
Yeah, the side moldings are at the polisher. The LT motor is sitting here with a 10-speed bracket system. It's got coil covers we're going to put on it. We'll get this installed back in the powder-coated chassis that we just kind of put back together. The intention is that this is just the new get around town, have fun with your grandkids, drive it to the hardware store, drive it to breakfast, that kind of thing. Just having fun with the truck.
Sure. And I'm going to note this is
the number 7 chassis that's all powder coated. We're about ready to install this chassis under that car.
We will have another video.
We'll have a completely separate video explaining both of these two.
Because that's going to be a little bit more in depth. But let's jump over to.
So here we've got Holder's Chevelle that is not too far away from being fired up. It's got the 1200 horse Don Hardy engine. We've mini tubbed it. We've developed the carbon front inner fenders for it. Currently, it's sitting on ride sticks, not shocks, so these are not drooped out. So this is pretty close to ride height. It might be a smidge low. We're getting ready to recheck the hood just to make sure that the hood was clearing here because it was super tight, and just make sure that's good before we bodywork and paint the hood. But all the wiring is complete. We're getting ready to put fuel in the car. Roger Holder's chomping at the bit to get behind the wheel of this thing.
So if possibly before the end of the day when I'm gone, we might have it fired up. If not,
we might.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close.
If Josh gets all the wires right, which he usually does, then it'll fire right up. Right, Josh?
Yes, sir. Gas and transmission fluid will give it a try.
Gas and transmission fluid.
Close.
Close.
Anything specifically that you might want to build in the future? I know the Mercedes was a real big one for you. You really liked building that. Is there something else that you're really...
It's really, anymore, it's just about the customer.
Okay.
Just a guy who wants to build a cool stuff that understands what it takes. They want quality. They want it done right. They want to do those things to just make the car right. They want to use the car. They want to drive the car. They want to make it bitchin'. They just like... The rest of it doesn't matter. It's really just the fun factor of just trying to build the fun, best cars we can.
If you like what's going on inside this shop, inquire, and Roger can get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for watching,
That'd be great.
guys.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you on the next one.